We listened to Mr. Madriaga. He told us, he gave us certain proofs of his connections to VP Sara, and not only to VP Sara, but also to the family, to the father, especially the former president. And I would say that he was able to more than satisfactorily establish that connection to VP Sara. So that is an important aspect, because it means VP Sara is the one lying about that important point. He's for further scrutiny also of the rest that Mr. Madriaga is saying. And of course, how he related those alleged deliveries. First in 3 occasions on December 20, and then the next day another one. The first 3 occasions in Laguna, and then in the Comedy Bar in Tomas Morato, and then at the Office of the Ombudsman, and then the next day at Mega Mall. And this coincides, the date of the delivery, the alleged deliveries in duffel bags of large amounts of money, between 30 to 33 million. This coincides with the date when the check for the 125 million for the last quarter of December 22 of confidential funds was released to the Special Disbursing Officer Gina Acosta, and it was encashed. And then also in the afternoon, the same day, in the afternoon, it was handed over to Colonel Nolasco and then to Colonel Lachica and Mr. Madriaga. So the dates coincide, and these are detailed narration of the alleged deliveries. These were first disclosed in the original affidavit of November 29, 2025, and then in his lengthier, more comprehensive latest, the supplemental affidavit of April 10, 2026.
Right. Congresswoman De Lima, correct me if I'm wrong, but with the tenor of your answer, it seems that you share the same belief with some of your House colleagues who have already earlier mentioned that they feel that the COA, the Commission on Audit, as well as the National Bureau of Investigation's findings point to a probable cause to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte. Do you share the same view? Because I feel, based on your answer, that you do share the same view. So my question, I guess, would be, how soon could the House Justice Committee wrap up its investigations and finally head to plenary to vote on this matter?
There are other scheduled hearings. So the next hearing is on April 22, and the third hearing, and we expect it to be the last hearing because there has been no further settings by the committee, and that would be on April 29. And there are other personalities and agencies that are subjects of subpoena, and that includes the former Senator Antonio Sani Trillanes, the fourth, and also AMLAC, and then BIR, SEC, Ombudsman, and they are supposed to be scheduled in April 22, and on the third setting, or supposedly the last setting in April 29, would be the NBI records on the alleged threats, the plot to assassinate the high officials, the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House. So I think April 29 would be the last day. Kayang-kaya, I think, Kat, to wrap up by April 29 so that the committee can already determine probable cause, and it needs a majority of the members of the committee, and therefore if there is a finding of probable cause supported by at least 1/3 of the members of the committee, then the report, the recommendation, along with the articles of impeachment, if the finding is positive for probable cause, to be forwarded now to the plenary for final action. But if there is no finding of probable cause, or it's a negative finding of probable cause, then what will be forwarded to the plenary would be a resolution and the recommendation of dismissal of the 2 complaints.
Right. Before we talk about plenary matters, I understand that you have moved to subpoena former Senator Antonio Trillanes to the April 2022 hearing. Walk our audience through the wisdom behind that request.
The wisdom. let us all recall that Senator Sonny Trillanes already appeared before during the Quad Committee. And then in supposed bank accounts, undeclared bank accounts of VP Sara along with the members of her family, especially the father and also the husband. And unexplained wealth is a categorical ground in both the Zabalia et al. and Cabrera impeachment complaints. And therefore, this is very material. We expect Senator Trillanes to reiterate what she testified on before the Quadcom committee hearings, as well as to expound further or elucidate on what he knows about those alleged secret, the alleged undisclosed bank accounts. So Senator Trillanes' testimony would concern the alleged existence of hidden and unexplained wealth purportedly contained in undisclosed bank accounts of VP Sara and members of her family, especially the father and the husband, which supposedly were not disclosed in her SALENS all these years. Because remember, before she became vice president, she was already a public official as vice mayor and mayor of Davao City. And therefore, those alleged hidden wealth, unexplained wealth, already existed at that point between 2006 to 2015. They accumulated. VP Sara, and along with former President Rodrigo Duterte, accumulated this alleged unexplained wealth in those alleged bank accounts. And that is the reason also why the committee has summoned or issued subpoena to AMLAC to submit to the committee certifications as to the existence of flagged, covered, and suspicious transactions that would tend to confirm those allegations. Mm-hmm. And that is also why the committee has summoned or has issued subpoena to the Office of the Ombudsman to produce the SALENS, so we could take a look at all the SALENS from the time that she became a vice mayor, and then ultimately as vice president. Mm-hmm. Did she disclose those unexplained wealth in all of the SALENS up to the present? Mm-hmm. Up to the latest SALN, which is the 2025 SALN. And the belief and the contention, the allegation of the complainants in both complaints, Zabalia et al. And Cabrera complaints, is she did not disclose those SALNs. So let's see. Mm-hmm.
Congresswoman De Lima,
those are the purposes.
Right. Congresswoman De Lima, is there actually a way for Congress to verify or to check or to trace how Vice President Sara Duterte and her family allegedly liquidated some of those alleged ill-gotten wealth? Because talk has been rife on social media even months before on how some Duterte family members were able to open certain franchises, particularly in Davao City, fast food franchises, snack kiosks in malls. Is there actually a way for the government to verify claims that some of those alleged ill-gotten wealth may have already been liquidated and therefore no longer in their bank accounts or in their SALENs?
Well, there can be a way, and there ought to be a way. But insofar as the impeachment proceedings are concerned, the current impeachment proceedings, these are limited actually to the unexplained wealth, whether they really existed, and whether there are undisclosed bank accounts, and whether these were flagged by the AMLAC, and whether these were reflected in the SALENs. So that's the scope of the impeachment proceedings, because we're talking here about unexplained wealth. Although we have summoned, the committee has summoned BIR and SEC records because of certain also undisclosed business interests in certain business entities of VP Sara, and the interests of VP Sara and her husband, Man Scarpio, mm-hmm. not also disclosed in the SALN. So the general ground is accumulation of unexplained or hidden wealth and their non-disclosure in the SALNs.
I'm very interested to find out how the House would actually thresh out or prove those hidden wealth, given the very nature of it, it's supposed to be hidden. Anyway, Congresswoman De Lima, another point that was raised in recent days was that Vice President Sara Duterte has been aggressively defending her law school record. Is that do you think that would actually help the push to impeach the Vice President, or is that just a part or a side story on this matter, given that, as you mentioned, the focus should be on the hidden wealth and the alleged ill-gotten wealth of the Duterte family?
Is obviously a side story. Imagine, among all the very serious, grave accusations or claims of Mr. Madriaga in his affidavits, both the original and the supplemental affidavits, he has the response of VP Sara focused on those school records. Her supposed struggling performance as a law student. So what does that tell us? She could have denied, or she could have presented evidence, countered all the other evidence, and she was being given a chance. You notice that in the April 22 hearing, every time or every after conclusion of the testimony of those resource persons present, there were a total of 7 resource persons presented, including Mr. Madriaga, in April 22. The chair had to ask the committee secretary whether she is around, whether she is present, so that she could rebut, she could comment, she could manifest and present any counter evidence or counter claim about all those serious accusations. But she was not there. She has been asking for that due process. She questioned what happened before in 2025 impeachment, and the Supreme Court sided with her on one of the grounds there is about alleged violation of due process, aside from the alleged violation of the 1-year bar rule. But here's the opportunity now. She's been given all the chance, but she is a no-show once again. So nakakapagtaka lang, Kat, why dun siya nag-focus? As you said, it's just a side story. That's not the meat of all these allegations. The meat is about betrayal of public trust, culpable violation of the Constitution, bribery, the alleged threats, very serious accusations that demand definitive, clear response from her.
Right.
But nothing.
Congresswoman De Lima, unfortunately, we are running out of time. But before we let you go, admittedly, the impeachment process in the Philippines is a political process. So despite the number of concrete evidence that the House would present during hearings or even during plenary, at the end of the day, it will be a matter of getting the right number of votes to impeach the Vice President. Do you feel that you have that number enough to impeach the Vice President, considering that...
Insofar as the House is concerned. Insofar as the House is concerned, at the committee level, and even at the plenary level, with all of this coming out, especially the testimony of Mr. Madriaga and the others who were present in April 22, the production of those documents, those submissions in relation to the funds, to the confidential funds, and then now the release by the COA, the commission proper, the affirmance of the notices of disallowance concerning the more than 73 million of the 125 confidential funds supposedly disbursed in December 2022, meaning the appeal of VP Sara was denied by the commission proper. That's a big thing. So I guess even if it's a numbers game, a political issue, it's a political play also, well, they have just to look at the evidence and what's happening. And so I'm confident at both the committee and the plenary level, we will have the numbers.
Do you feel that the Vice President's strong positioning in pre-election presidential surveys would not affect those votes, particularly in the House of Representatives, where history has shown us that some, not all lawmakers, tend to gravitate towards the leading contender in the nearest upcoming polls?
I don't think so. And we have to hope for that. That, it's not really the fact that because she's a presidential, and she appears to me, based on surveys so far, to be the top contender, the leading presidential. should not be a factor. But let's take a look at also at the latest Okta survey. About 69% of Filipinos, of those surveyed, would opt or would want to see this case, this matter, proceed to impeachment trial. So that also shows a lot about the sentiment of the people. They really also want to know the truth and also to exact accountability.
Right. Very busy days ahead for the House of Representatives with the upcoming hearing next week. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning, ML Party List Representative Leila de Lima.
You're welcome.